Hi, today we're going to work on adding with fractions. So here is our first problem that we're going to do. We're going to do 3 problems. Our first one shows us adding 1 1/6 plus 2 1/2. The thing you most have to remember with adding fractions is that your denominator has to be the same. In this case, the denominators are not the same. We have a 6 on the bottom and a 2 on the bottom. We have to make equivalent fractions so that they are the same before we add them. So when I look at them, I'm looking to see what number could I put on the bottom that would work for both of them. So I'm looking at the 6, and I notice that 6 actually would work for both. I'm going to go with a common denominator of 6. The first one didn't change. It's always nice if you can pick a common denominator where one of them doesn't change at all. That's always nice. Can't always do it though. The second one, we have to turn the 2 into a 6. Well, 2 times 3 gave us 6. If we multiply the bottom number by 3, we have to multiply the top number by 3. So we have to do 1 times 3. So our new numerator is 3. 3/6 is equivalent to a half. Now our denominators match. We have a 6 on the bottom and a 6 on the top. So now we can add 1/6 plus 3/6 is 4/6. And then we add our whole numbers. And our answer is 3 4/6. But we have to ask ourselves, is it able to be reduced? Can it be simplified? The answer is yes, it can. We could divide the top and the bottom by 2. So we're going to do that. We are going to simplify it. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. We simplified it by 2. We divided the top and the bottom by the same number. That gives you an equivalent fraction. So the answer to this problem is 3 2/3. We're going to do 2 more problems. The next problem we're going to do is 3 2/3 added to 2 3/4. Now, when I hold it up, you're going to notice that the problem is written horizontally instead of vertically. It's written side to side. When you're given an addition problem with fractions that's written side to side, it's really helpful if you rewrite it vertically, up and down. So that's going to be my first step. 3 2/3 plus 2 3/4. Now, hopefully you remember the first step. The first step is look to see if the denominators are the same. In this case, they are not. Let's clear the board a little bit. They're not the same. We have a 3 on the bottom here and a 4 on the bottom there. They don't match. We have to make equivalent fractions before we can add, not equivalent fractions, we have to make common denominators before we can add them. So we need to ask ourselves, what number can 3 and 4 both go into? And one answer is 12. 3 times 4 is 12. And so if we multiply that by 4, we have to multiply the top by 4. So we would get 8/12. Down here, 4 times 3 is 12. So if we multiply the bottom by 3, we do have to multiply the top by 3. 3 times 3 is 9. So now we have equivalent fractions. 2/3 is equivalent to 8/12. 3/4 is equivalent to 9/12. We now have fractions with common denominators, so we can add them. That gives us 17/12, and our whole numbers 5 17/12. So now we have to ask ourselves, is it as simple as possible? And when I look at it, I immediately see a problem because my numerator is bigger than my denominator. That means it is improper. We have to make it proper. There's a couple ways to make it proper. The most common one for my way of thinking anyway is to treat it as a division. 17 divided by 12. 17 divided by 12. 12 goes into 17 one time with 5 left. Remember, when we're working with fractions, we write that remainder as 5/12 because it's 5 out of 12. So when I make that improper fraction proper, I got 1 5/12. But don't forget the 5 that's here. Our complete answer, if we were to finalize it, would be 5 plus 1 6 and 5/12. Let's do one more like that where we have to add them together and then take an improper fraction and make it proper. Let's do 1 and 3/5, and we're going to add to that 2 and 1/4. I'm sorry, 2 and 3/4. I copied my problem wrong. Okay, so step 1, make sure the denominators match. They do not, so we have to make common denominators. We need to think of a number that we can get to using 5s and 4s. 20. So the question is, how did I get to 20? 5 times 4 is 20. So I have to multiply the top one by 4. My equivalent fraction is 12. How did I get from 4 to 20? Well, 4 times 5 is 20. So I have to multiply my top number times 5. So my equivalent fraction would be 15/20. Now we have common denominators, so we can add them. 12 plus 15 is 27/20. And we add our whole number, and we get 3. 3 and 27/20. But that is improper. The top number is bigger than the bottom. We have to make it proper. Again, the way I usually do it is I think of it as a division problem. 27 divided by 20. 27 divided by 20. 20 goes into 27 one time with a remainder of 7. So it is 20 and 7/20 because it's 7 out of 20. That is the same thing as 1 and 7/20. But don't forget, we still have the 3 wholes from before. 3 whole numbers plus 1 more whole number. Our answer is actually 4 and 7/20. So when you add fractions, step 1, make sure you make common denominators. Then you add everything up. If it's an improper fraction, you have to make it proper, and you can do that by dividing. Top number divided by the bottom. And then don't forget to combine your whole number at the end. All right, I hope you do really well in your assignment.